We welcome you back to the Patrick Netherton Show right here on 1130 The Tiger and 103.3 FM, and we're pleased to welcome in. We had him in back during qualifying for the Olympics when the volleyball team was in trying to get qualified. They end up qualifying. They end up going on and winning their first ever gold medal, and we're pleased to welcome in once again one of our favorites, Karch Kiraly, the head coach of the USA women's volleyball team. Coach, how are you, brother?
I'm doing great. It's so wonderful to check in with you, and you're bringing back good memories. That was the start of the road to Tokyo as we qualified here in Shreveport, Bossier City, in early August of that 2019 period. At that time, we thought the Olympics was only going to be a year away.
Right.
And it turned out to be 2, but the wait was worth it.
Yeah, and you end up winning the gold. It obviously was a huge deal. It's the first gold for the women's team. But I'm curious because you've also won individual gold. You've also won team gold, or I should say both have been team golds. One with a large squad, one with just duos out on the beach. Give me some indication of what is, compare and contrast winning gold with yourself as an athlete versus being a coach.
That's a good question. Our women had been competing in the Olympics since volleyball was first added to, that is, indoor volleyball, was first added to the Olympic program in Tokyo in 1964. So it had been a very long time, close to 60 years. And our American women had qualified for 12 previous Olympics. Had won 5 medals, including 3 silvers, 2 gold. 3 silvers and 2 bronze, but had come up short in terms of standing at the top of the podium. And so I so yearned for them and this team and this program to be able to stand at the top as I got to with my teammates, both, as you mentioned, indoors and on the beach. And so it was an incredibly powerful moment to see them do it. And it might have hit me harder than any of the 3 that I actually was on the court competing, because I was just ecstatic for all the hard work this program had put in and a lot of suffering, not the kind of suffering that's going on in Ukraine or
right.
Or life and death suffering, but a different kind of suffering when you're close and you don't get it, and close and you don't get it. More like Chicago Cubs, Boston Red Sox suffering.
Right.
And eventually we put that to bed, and it's a really powerful moment, and was for the program. And now we're looking to build on that as we start a new path toward the next Olympics, which is shockingly barely over 2 years away.
Yeah. It's interesting because when you were qualifying, we didn't even know what COVID was. That wasn't even a thing yet. And then, as you mentioned, you basically have your chance at a gold medal put off by a year. And there was also some talk about, hey, maybe don't even have them at all because of what's going on in the world. What was that like, that sort of waiting around to see what happens? I've got to imagine, because you have a good team. You've got one of the best teams in the world, arguably the best team in the world, and they end up going out and proving that. But what's that like? What's that anticipation like when you're building toward 2020 and it turns out that everything gets thrown into limbo?
I think we faced a couple of things. Good question. One was there was certainly a tremendous amount of uncertainty among all athletes, team and individual alike. But when they announced that the Olympics were not canceled but postponed, that was a relief for sure. Our team wanted to prepare as best possible, and so actually we approached it with, look, this is 12 extra months to sharpen our swords, sharpen our game, sharpen our team, and sharpen our teammateship. And so we actually looked at it and took it or made the most positive we could out of it, and that is 12 extra months, even if a lot of our work maybe for several months or a number of months had to be on Zoom, and we couldn't be together during those lockdowns. But I think our team used that time really effectively. And then some people would ask, well, what was the Olympics like with no people in the stand?
Right.
And I would say, you know what? After that first whistle and first serve, we didn't even notice. And so ultimately, we are extremely grateful that we got to compete in an Olympics and not have it canceled, and got the opportunity to finally get this program over the hump or to the top of the mountain and standing at the top of that podium.
Do you want to go ahead and ask your next question of yourself? I mean, I'll let you do the interview if you like, Coach. I'm okay with that. I'll stand back and listen. I have no problem. Hey, one of the interesting things about the Olympics being that it's not an annual thing, you kind of have these rotations of players. You went through it yourself, won a couple of golds, and then kind of rotated off the team. You're seeing that now with this USA women's team. Obviously, you got Jordan Thompson back. We're going to talk about her in just a second. But what is this like when hey, most of the team that I took over there to Tokyo that won the gold has now moved on and they're doing other things, and I've got to ready a new group. What is that like knowing you're dealing with that kind of a rotation of players every 4, 5, 6, maybe every 2 Olympics or so?
You're right. That is a very natural progression when you think of it not in 1-year cycles like the normal professional sport like WNBA or Major League Baseball, but instead it's thought of more both by athletes and by coaches and staffs as more of a 4-year project, although in this Olympic cycle, it's actually going to be a 3-year, an unusual cycle of 3 years. And so with that, yes, we've had some retirements, some people who were tremendous contributors for us over 3 Olympic Games. Jordan Larson at outside hitter, Faluka Akinraduo Gunderson at middle. And and we were so happy for both of them because they won silver in London, bronze in Rio, and then completed the hat trick and got one of each color with gold in Tokyo. And another outside hitter who was had a great career for USA from 2013 to the last Olympics, Kim Hill. But out of those 12 that traveled to Tokyo, it's actually not a majority who retired. It's a majority who are continuing forward. They might not all be here this week competing for USA in week 1 of Volleyball Nations League, or we call it Nations League, or VNL for short. But we're also thinking long-term. Some people are recovering from some injuries and from long professional seasons. And so with the long-term in mind, we're excited about the group of returners and also the group of people who might have been with our program but fell a little short. Maybe they were chosen as an alternate but not actually one of the 12 who traveled to Tokyo. And then we also have some brand new players. We have some people here who are going to play their first ever USA volleyball competition at the international level. And so when you have a blend like that, that's very natural. There's some turnover, and then you need to fit in with new people, great people who are great volleyball players who are learning the system.
Yeah, you mentioned the Volleyball Nations League. That is why you were back in Shreveport Bossier this week. Played last night, got a straight set win against the Dominican Republic. Get a couple of days off. Matches going on tonight at 5 and 8. Tomorrow 2, 5 and 8, and then you get back into it on Friday. I guess part of being the host team is you get the best slot. You get the 8 o'clock time slot. And the big one everyone is pointing to is Saturday at 8, number 1 versus number 2, USA number 1, Brazil number 2. How do you, I guess, maybe guard against, especially with a younger group, one that's kind of coming up? How do you guard against everyone not focusing on that Brazil match and making sure, hey, we got Canada in front of us, make sure we're getting ready for that. Let's not skip ahead to the one that everyone's pointing to.
I think when we have some new faces, that's probably the best guard against that, and that is they're just excited to get a uniform on and to get after it, and it doesn't even matter who's across the net. So, yeah, our whole focus will be Canada. Canada played a great Nations League last year. They're a very much improved and a very strong team now in our zone. They've gotten a lot better in the last couple of years. So we've got a ton of respect for the work they've put in to improve. All of us have had to do that same thing at some point. And so that'll be a great match Friday at 8. And then once both teams get beyond that, everybody can focus on the next match. And you mentioned it, where USA will play Brazil on Saturday evening at 8 p.m. And we will be, of course, honored to share a court with Brazil. That's a legendary program. They've won multiple Olympic gold medals, multiple other championships. And so anytime you get those two teams on the court, it's wonderful for both teams. We bring out the best in each other. And as you said, right now, I think we're world number 1 and world number 2. And so that'll be great. And then, of course, since we're covering all of those matches, we have Sunday afternoon, 3 p.m., playing Japan, and Japan is spectacular. Their players tend to be a little shorter. They don't grow them quite as tall in Japan, but they make up for it with amazing floor defense. And anybody who comes to watch is just going to be thrilled or really take great joy in watching the effort and the skill that they put into keeping the ball from touching their own floor. We can get some really long rallies. We got some of our players will be needing oxygen after some of those, but we're ready to reset and keep going at them. But Japan's all three of those opponents are going to be great. Canada at 8 p.m. Friday, Brazil 8 p.m. Saturday, and then Japan Sunday afternoon. Lots of great volleyball.
Yeah, that'll be at 3 p.m. Again, all of these going on at the Brookshire's Grocery Arena over in Bossier, same place where they qualified for the Olympics a couple of years ago. Talking to Karch Kiraly, the head coach of the USA women's national team. All right, so we mentioned we were going to talk about Jordan Thompson, arguably one of the best players in the world. She was injured during the Olympics before you got to that the gold medal, the elimination portion of the bracket. You got her back, and I know she tried to come back and couldn't quite get it done earlier. She comes back, obviously, is a huge piece. What's it like having her back out there, not only just as a spectacular player, but now as more of a veteran on your team, when before she was one of the youngsters?
It was fantastic to get her back in action last evening against Dominican Republic. As you mentioned, we had a couple of injuries. Nobody wins in Olympic Games without facing down some serious adversity of one sort or another. And some of ours during the tournament in Tokyo last year in July and August were injuries to two of our starters. First, Jordan Thompson, an opposite, and then our starting setter, Jordan Poulter. And, of course, our certified athletic trainer and our physical therapist, Kara Kessens, worked her magic. She actually won a great award from the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee as Service Provider of the Year for the wonders she worked in Tokyo itself to get both those players back. Jordan Poulter came back a little faster. Jordan Thompson probably could have played. I wouldn't say she was 100%, but she was getting there. And then in the fall, when she was playing overseas for a team in Istanbul, Turkey, some things really went sideways. And so eventually she had to cut her season short and come home. And so she's put just an ungodly amount of work into getting back to full fitness, full health. And that was from November on. And so finally she got to get back onto the court, and it must have felt near miraculous. It was just wonderful to see her, and certainly must have felt great for her to finally get back after not being all the way to full health since the middle of that Olympic tournament.
All right, Karch, we're going to go a little bit philosophical here, because you're a very thoughtful guy, and I'm curious. You've accomplished things that no one else in this sport has accomplished. No one else has ever won an indoor and an outdoor gold. Obviously, no one then has won an indoor-outdoor gold and coached a gold medal winning team. You have done things that haven't ever been done before. What continues to motivate you to do this, right? I always think of a guy like Nick Saban over on the football side. The guy is arguably, I would say maybe inarguably, the greatest coach in the history of college football. Why does he still get up and grind and go through this? Why do you continue to get up and grind and go through this when you legitimately have nothing left to prove? You've done things that no one else has ever done in this sport?
Good question. I think ultimately it's this pursuit, this relentless pursuit of excellence and mastery. And that is incredibly challenging, incredibly frustrating, but also incredibly rewarding and gratifying. And it's way more rewarding and gratifying when you do it with great people. And I am honored and privileged to get to do it with great people. The people who are on the court, the women who compete for this program, and also all of the great coaches and staff that we have. We just think that when you start with good people, people of great character and integrity, and then you build in, of course, that it helps for them to be hungry, curious learners, because we all have to get better. None of us we wouldn't even with winning an Olympic gold medal, we wouldn't say we are there or we are where we want to be. We're always in a state of becoming, and we want to be more. And so you have great people. You have people motivated to learn and people capable of working hard. And that's a good way to go through life. That's a great team to be on in any phase of life.
And I've got to imagine the turnover then helps with that, right? Because it's a new group that you're trying to lead back to that mountaintop.
It sure is. And one of the rewarding things for us coaches is when we get some new people in. As I mentioned, some people are going to be playing for their very first time here. One of them, last night, who put on a spectacular performance, was Morgan Hentz. She had a great college career at Stanford, won 3 NCAA titles in 4 years of competing for them. Joined our team in March of 2020, just days before the lockdown, and then had some health problems too. And so, ironically, even though she's been with our program for over 24, 26, 27 months, she had not once gotten the chance to wear a USA uniform, to wear red, white, and blue until last night. And so that would be an example, but we have others here too of people who are newer to the program and just really hungry to learn and get better quickly. And that makes people, and all the people in our program are like that, but it's probably most fresh with the youngest people. That makes coaching even more of a joy, because people are truly, they understand that what got them to our program and in the door and into the training gym doesn't necessarily keep them there. And so they're highly motivated to try to pursue their potential. And we, coaches and staff, are here to help guide and facilitate that. But we have people here who are really hungry to drive their own development. And that's also a wonderful team to be a part of.
Final thing, Coach, what does it mean? Why do we need people out at Brookshire's Grocery Arena when Team USA is out there on the floor? What does it mean to you as a coach, to the players, to have a good crowd that's into it, that's giving you some of that energy? Why do people need to show up for this?
We love it when we don't get to compete on our home court all that often. Most, I would say 90% plus of all the competition we do is actually outside the borders of our country. And so in these rare opportunities to play at home, we just want to share what it means to be a USA volleyball player and to be the USA volleyball team, how much pride we take in our teammateship. That was a big goal of ours last year, was to, and is always a big goal of ours, to out-team anybody across the net. That is to add up to more than the sum of our parts and make them feel like they're playing against the team with extra people on the court. And so we pride ourselves in that. A lot of people who watched in Tokyo sent us messages of how it seemed to be oozing out of the screen, the really tight teammateship and trust and team battle that we had. And so we love it when people can have the chance to see that live and in person. It's not very often that they get that. And also we love coming back to the place where we got to qualify for that same Olympics last year, which is right here in Louisiana. And so anytime we get that chance, we'd love to have people out to get to enjoy it. We'll have family here. We'll have friends here because some people might remember, nobody was even allowed except competitors and coaches and staff to go to Tokyo for the Olympic Games. That's something that normally family and friends save up for years to be able to go cheer their relatives and their friends on, but nobody got to travel there. So it's awesome that we, in a sense, we also get that chance too, that family and friends can come out. And we're actually going to have a special on-court celebration Friday night after the Canada match. It's almost like, if an NBA or WNBA team had won and they have their ring that they're going to, their ring ceremony after, early in the next season. And so we're going to have a ceremony acknowledging and hopefully have a lot of fans out on Friday night to help us acknowledge and celebrate the first ever Olympic gold medal for our team.
There you go. No reason not to show up. Friday night at 8, Saturday night at 8, Sunday at 3. Team USA out there. And look, just go watch some of the other matches as well. The athleticism, the passion, it is very real out there, and it's a heck of a lot of fun to watch. Karch, thank you so much for your time. Again, as always, you are an absolute saint of a human being to join us, and best of luck this week. And we're looking forward to, look, you need to pick up your 5th gold, right? You need one for the thumb. So we need to get you one more, Coach.
There we go. It was a joy to visit with you again, Patrick, and keep up the great work.
All right. Karch Kiraly, the head coach of the USA Women's National Team. Oh, there's nothing wrong with that, man. That is fantastic stuff. He is a beautiful human being. Again, he has 4 gold medals. The only person to ever have an indoor and an outdoor gold medal at the Olympics. He has 2 indoors, 1 outdoor, and then now he as the coach of the USA women's team. Karch Kiraly, the head coach for the USA national team.